rock. Jesus, we take it down. Holy moly. We are joined in studio with Troy Silvers from TroySilvers.com and Political Wrong Sauce on Facebook. Political Master of Disaster. The Silver Surfer. And whatever else you want to call him. He's right here next to me. And ladies and gentlemen, he's totally armed. Not even kidding. But there's nothing wrong with that. How you doing, Troy?
I'm doing excellent.
You sound fabulous on that harmonica.
Thank you. I bet you didn't know I could play it through my nostrils.
That's how you're talking at the same time. I see. You're a little flat there for a second, but...
Sorry about that. Wait, check out this next part.
Something's going to happen? Here we go! That's right. It's almost done. Might as well just let it play to fruition. Okay. We're gonna break down now the political spectrum for you with Troy Silvers in a way you've probably never heard before, hopefully, and we're gonna change your perception of the political spectrum.
We're basically gonna make this up as we go.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to ask you, how are we going to do this, Troy? But that's the perfect answer. We are going to make this up as we go along. No, but we're going to use our years of experience and knowledge.
And Google.
No, we're only going to use Google to come up with various charts and figures to rip apart, because most people have a really disgustingly wrong view of these things, Troy. Looking at the political spectrum, I love how blatantly inaccurate they are to put fascism on the right, on the far right. And when I'm getting towards this left and right thing is what's messing us up here, when you try to figure out where something is on the left or right, because that's BS, isn't it, Troy?
Yeah, absolutely, and you're 100% right about the left and right spectrum is becoming... It's become politicized, and it's the type of thing where you get fascism on the right only because you had one example of the Nazis becoming fascist from the right, going to the left so rapidly, and forever now the liberals claiming that fascism is on the right side of the scale. And then you see the progression of the left-right paradigm spectrum scale becoming not left and right, but we've seen it in a up and down left and right scale, or two-dimensional, we'll call it, and then we've also seen it in a circular scale. And we're going to present to you something I don't think very many people have ever thought of or seen or tried to
and it's so obvious.
comprehend.
Yeah, once you see it, it's so obvious, and it makes so much sense, and it really kind of does help you figure some stuff out here, because the chart we're looking at, we will post on the Facebook page. We looked through a lot of charts, maybe a dozen of them, people trying to break this down, and this is the best one we found. And maybe after we're done explaining why this one's so good, we'll go off into some other charts we found that aren't so good, and why. We'll go into that.
Hey, let's do it the opposite.
You want to do it the other way around?
Let's explain the standard political scale that most
that's a
people
good idea.
deal with.
I agree.
And then let's tear it apart. Let's talk about why we don't like it.
Okay, well, this one then caused us much frustration. Okay, this one's really complicated. This is the one from, I don't even know where it's from, but I'll put it on the Facebook page as well. So this will be chart 1, okay, on the Facebook page. Where to even begin with this? Now, you have your left and right, obviously. The most interesting thing, I guess, that we focused on when we looked at this one was down at the bottom where left meets right, in the bottom of the circle. And there's an inner circle and an outer circle, by the way. But at the bottom of the circle on this political spectrum, you have radicals meeting up with radicals on the left meeting up with reactionaries on the right, nose to nose, and both are in support of state-sponsored ideology, but on the left it would say state-sponsored secular ideology, on the right it would say state-sponsored sectarian ideology. That seems about right to me, doesn't it to you, Troy?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think my main problem with this particular scale is just the sort of rigidity and complication of it. It is so complicated, and it has so much stuff on it that really, this is my study. I've spent a lot of time on the internet taking political spectrum tests. You can go to Bing and type in political spectrum test, and they're so liberalized that no matter how libertarian you answer these questions, it'll always tell you you're a centrist.
Yeah, I just disagree with a lot of what is taught about political science, I guess, in America. But and also on this chart, it's interesting, too, that on the right, down there at the bottom, too, again, but not as far to the center, more closer to the right now on the bottom, demands maximum control over civil rights. On the left, it says demands a maximum control over property rights. But both sides meet up at the bottom at tyranny, prefers maximum state control over the individual. Interestingly enough, at the top, which seems to be their way of putting the mainstreamers, is mainstream liberals and mainstream conservatives. They just have liberals and conservatives, but I think that's what they're getting at, because you have, the way they break it down is liberals are more skeptical than believing, conservatives are more believing than skeptical. And at the top, they meet up at the well-being of the individual takes precedence over the well-being of the state. They say, but I disagree with that characterization. And it says prefers minimum state control over the individual. Why does it say that? Wait a minute. Yeah, they have opposite. They're meeting in the middle to say opposite things. That's another reason that I disagree with this chart.
Yeah, next chart.
Really, you don't like it? You don't want to go on
this chart's screwed.
Okay, well,
Come on, Larry,
that's an
next
example. That's an example of what you're going to get.
Catch up, Larry.
When you go into this thing. Now, let's take a look at this one. This one we actually kind of like. This will be chart 2.
Chart 2 I could almost live with.
Yeah, chart 2 kind of makes sense, because now chart 2, if you're looking at it now.
Let's say that chart 2 is the chart that you and I have been living with and believing in for the last, say, year.
For me, closer to about 6 years.
Well, I'm talking about on this show. This show, chart 2 this is the way I think.
Yeah,
Barry
this is the way we've best tried to describe it properly.
This is how Barry and I look at the political spectrum up until today. Today we are throwing this model out the window and starting over.
We're changing it.
So this is 5 minutes ago, and chart 3 is going to be 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, and one of the reasons you have to do that is because you take the left and the right. Well, you know, the what people are going to say about that immediately is, oh, okay, Democrats and Republicans. Well, if Democrats are on the left and Republicans are on the right, and they're opposites, then we got a problem, because I'm seeing them as being pretty darn close, and that's why I love the up and down scale, which we don't have a chart number for that yet.
We're going to introduce.
We'll get that to that.
The fourth dimension to politics.
Yes, we're not even going to go there yet. I don't want to give that away. Okay, but so now this chart here, chart 2, what you have is a circle, and you have the left and the right, and libertarians at the bottom. I like that. They're at the bottom, and they have anarchy. You know what's interesting about this chart, though, Troy, that I don't really like? Anarchy and libertarians are no different left or right. They have them exactly the same, which I would disagree with.
Well, let me give you my analysis of the chart. Maybe it'll help you out. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing there's a right and there's a left.
Yeah, okay.
On the right, at the very top, you have neocons. On the right, dead right, you have standard conservatism. On the right, dead bottom, you have libertarians. Now you have an inner circle and outer circle.
Yeah.
Inner circle consists of libertarians. Outer circle, very bottom, anarchists. So what they're kind of saying is outside of the norm is the anarchy. Inside the norm, you have libertarians, you have neocons, you have progressives, you have conservatives.
Point out what's outside the norm on the top then, too.
Outside the norm on the top is authoritarianism.
And you notice how progressives and neocons
are right next to authoritarianism.
They're meeting up right next together in the middle in this chart, which that doesn't really make a ton of sense, but they're meeting in the middle, and they're very close to authoritarianism, very far from libertarianism, and the furthest from anarchy.
And what's important to understand is that libertarians in general could not be farther from authoritarian, progressive neocons. They couldn't be any further away unless they were anarchists.
Yeah, especially on this chart. The way they have it, too, is they are direct opposites on this chart. They're both inside the circle, though, which is interesting.
Yeah, and whereas I would put progressives and neocons, I would actually put them outside the circle.
Oh, they're outside the circle. They should be hanging out on the top of the circle with authoritarianism. Yeah.
I agree, but the point is, anyway, this is the way we have been looking at it.
Can I correct myself, though, because I don't really think, not exactly, not all progressives. I would say probably all neocons, yes. Not all progressives. Some progressives are just concerned people who are a little confused about it, and they don't know yet that corporations have funded the progressive movement to put them off track.
Well, but what you're talking about is the uninformed masses, the sheeple.
Yeah, the dumb masses.
Those aren't really progressives.
The dumb masses, as Dale said.
Those are just the sheeple. The sheeple, they don't count. Notice there's no sheeple on the scale.
Hey, trust me, I get email. I know all about them.
So, like I said, this is the way we have been looking at it. Now we want to introduce to you, of all the political spectrums you've seen.
Are you sure we have more? We have more old school.
Do we have? Well, but I don't think we liked the old school. Well, go ahead if you want.
Well, we're kind of running out of time, but one more old school real quick, and this one, this one's too complicated too.
That's what I'm saying. Let's just throw this crap out the window.
This isn't the only time we're going to go through this, but
forget everything, every political spectrum you've ever seen. We're going to give you, what are we calling it, Barry?
We're calling it the scale of tyranny. Scale of tyranny. Scale of tyranny.
That's right.
Or the spectrum of tyranny, if you prefer.
We're introducing a new political spectrum, no longer from authoritarian on the left to anarchism on the right. We're going to give you...
Or fascism.
Fascism. Yeah. Okay, we're going to give you an up and down scale from the ground to the ceiling. At the ceiling, you have maximum tyranny police state. At the ground, you have complete, utter freedom to be complete anarchism, to do anything
you're
you
running
want.
Naked through the city. You're lighting stuff on fire.
With a raging heart.
Yeah, you're throwing bricks through windows. Anything's possible to at the top. You're in a little cage, okay? Right?
Exactly.
Or you're dead.
So it's all about up and down now.
Now it's up and down. It's not left and right. Left and right is kind of BS because how can that be scientific? I think that's really there to confuse us. That's not scientific, left and right. I mean, when astronomers talk about, stars in the universe, they don't say the star on the left and the star on the right. No, they get specific about exact coordinates. We're going to start breaking these things down, coordinates between up and down on the scale from total freedom, which I'm not saying we agree with total freedom, that's another concept, to no freedom, all right? And so at the bottom, as we've already kind of got into, you got your anarchy. And one thing we should point out about the scale, the particular scale we're posting, which is chart 3 on the Facebook page, it's an up and down scale, like a bar chart, but with just one bar. And it has green in the middle and red on the outside. So there's like an extremity.
And I take this as a warning. If you're in the green, you're doing all right. If you're in the red areas, you're sort of radical and dangerous.
Yeah, that could be what's implied.
That's what they're trying to imply.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and just say that I don't agree with the placement of the political parties on graph 3 here.
Yeah.
But I want you to understand
it's
as
close though.
listeners.
It's not that far off, is it?
Well, there's some. I think. In my opinion, there's some drastic differences in a very small way. I have a problem with the placement of the political spectrum, the parties on the spectrum. And that's what we're going to do for you. Is we're giving you this as a chart to understand the vertical way of looking at politics and looking at tyranny. And now we want to redefine for you where we feel these political parties, with the way they are today in 2011, where they actually fall on this chart.
And they're at the bottom, like we're talking about, some is red and some is green. At the top, you have communism, fascism together, which is awesome that this chart is putting them together because it's both authoritarian police state control. So I don't like seeing them on opposite sides of a political spectrum. That doesn't make any sense.
Now, what is?
But the red. I wanted to get to the red, green. Yeah.
On the chart, what is the next political party right next to communism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism?
I wanted to explain that communism, fascism is at the top of the scale. It's in the red.
It's 10 out of 10 for tyranny.
Yeah, and as you go down, you get down to about
8 out of 10 for tyranny.
8 out of 10. Yep. Then it starts to darken a little bit into green. But before it even gets out of red, guess what's there? And I might even agree with this. I'm not sure. Democrats.
I wouldn't say Democrats. This is where you're going to put your progressives.
That's a good point. I think this poll is one of those polls that is actually confusing parties for belief systems they're supposed to represent.
This is when all you people out there who like to rip on me a little bit, when I say the term liberals, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking to these people that are 80% communist.
80%, yeah, 80% of the way to the tyranny. And then they have on this chart in the green, interesting, but almost getting into the red, they have Republicans just below Democrats on the scale of tyranny.